I think you have to just have the mindset that there's nothing you're not going to get through, right? And there's nothing you're going through that somebody hasn't gone through already. And if you lean on people who've been in the same situation, or maybe not been in the same situation, but will just listen to what you're going through and not even offer advice, but just kind of be a sounding board and, say, hey, I hear you're going through it and it's going to be fine. And just lean into each other.
Connect with us on the Emotion Wellness Podcast for a transformative journey of human connection. Witness personal stories, improve your mental health education, and acquire valuable resources for optimizing your well-being. And visit emotionwellness.com for more information.
Welcome to the Emotion Wellness Podcast. My name is Jason Turner, and as usual, I'm here with my boy, Mr. Frank Parisi.
And we have the most amazing guest. The only thing that topped this guest was my son, Sonny, for me. We have the one, the only, the most beautiful, wonderful, amazing woman that I've ever met in my whole entire life. My wife, I've been with her for 30 years. Kathy Parisi, let's give a shout to her. Let's go. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
I am not here without her. So we needed to have you on the podcast because people are asking us to come on podcasts. And there's no way we're going on anyone's podcast without you coming on our podcast first. So we're here and very grateful to have you on, my babe. I love you so much.
I love you, and I'm grateful too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important when we talk about mental health, substance use in general. We always talk about the role of the family. Like, outcomes are so much better when the family's on board and willing to take a look at a few things. It doesn't work out usually when people are like, well, that's the identified patient, take care of this, and then we're good. We don't have anything to work on. And so in your situation, it's not the same, right? Like, it's not like you had stuff to work on, but I'm sure, and without a doubt, his recovery and his process was enhanced and came about as a result of your guys' connection, your effort, you know what I mean, and the things that you went through. So I think it's really important that people understand what that was like. I think oftentimes my experience is that Frank's story is so potent and his ability to deliver it is really incredible. And it's just at its surface level, it's an incredible story. And then you add in like the way that you tell it and just who you are as a person. And the focus is often on Frank, but he and I talk a lot, and he always says, the value that you had in his recovery and the role that you played. And so that's what we want to do today. We want to tell that story. I think it's incredible. I can't imagine going through it as an individual, as you, but I also think about, man, I wonder what it would have been like to be the supporting partner. What was that like for you? And so that's some of the stuff that we want to discuss today.
For sure.
So
Wow. Amazing. Let's hear it, babe.
I'll ask a question to get it started. One of the things that I've thought about a lot in engaging, just thinking about your guys' scenarios, so many people have different things that they lean on, right? So, Frank talks about being in the hospital, and I think of his process of like, there's nurses and there's doctors, and as intimidating as that scene is, and as there's still people, right? They're just like, there's a flurry of activity. At one point you were helping others in the hospital. So like the focus was, so that helped you to take the focus off yourself.
Yeah,
right?
I needed to, bro.
When I think about you, I think about like, you guys have this big, beautiful house, and like, I don't know if this is true, but it seemed like you're going home to this structure, this home, because not your life partner's in the hospital now and you have your son to take care of. But what was that like, and how did you get, like, what did you use to support yourself? Like, I visualized literally you just laying in bed in a big house, and I imagine the fear and the sadness and the worry and that stuff. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but I'm just really curious how you got through that.
Sure. To be honest, I wasn't in the big house alone much because I hunkered down in the hospital. So I was sleeping on the little tiny couch in the hospital room almost for the entirety of the 6 weeks that he was there. So I think that helped somewhat because I was in the midst of everything he was going through and not at home wondering what was going on. I did go home to check on my son and made sure that he was okay, and he was with people that I absolutely trusted. He was with my mother-in-law, my sister, people that I knew he was in the best hands. And on those occasions when I did go home, yeah, it was this big empty house and wondering what's going to be. And that's when I actually sat down and wrote the famous letter, because I went home for the night and I felt like I didn't want Frank to feel like he was alone. And I knew that a lot of the things going through his head were, what am I going to be like? Am I going to be able to do everything I did before? What kind of dad am I going to be? What kind of husband? What kind of activities can I do? And I wanted him to really feel like, even if I'm not physically in the room with you right now, I'm in this with you through everything, no matter what. And so that's when that came about, on one of those nights when I was home and not sitting in the hospital.
When was the first time you read that letter?
Right, like I think you sent it to me that night.
I sent it to him that night, and I think a friend was staying with you that night. Was it Chris, maybe?
Chris.
And
Chris Lavosi.
Yeah, I went to sleep that night, and then I woke up the next morning, and he called me, and he was like, "You wrote that letter?" And I said, "Yeah."
Dude, like I cried, and then I made Chris read it. He flew in from Connecticut to visit me, and I made him read it, and he couldn't read it. I'm going to cry right now. He couldn't read it.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't read it. Like, it made him cry.
Yeah.
It's
powerful. Yeah.
It was so powerful.
What was it? So you're saying you cried, but describe what went through your spirit?
Oh, dude, just the love.
Like safety,
so much safety and love, dude. Like, this world is hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like to have that one, like, and knowing, like, bro, you know my past, like, you know where I come from, and like the foundation of like my family and the dysfunction of that, and like having her in my life, dude. I'm not like that. It's the safety, the comfort, and it's also like not just from the letter, but Kathy sees me further than I see myself. And Kathy pushes me further than I would maybe push myself at times when I needed it, dude. You know what I mean? She showed up for me like that. And like, it's been 30 years we've been together, man. And like that letter at that time, even if I read it right now, I would cry. Because it's just so powerful, man. It was just like, I needed that, dude. You know, knowing that you were going to be, like, ride with me. She was with me 6 weeks in the hospital, 24/7, except 3 nights. You know? Yeah. 3 nights. That was it. And I had my mom come stay with me, and my friend Danny in New York stayed with me one night. Because I didn't want to die by myself.
Yeah.
You know?
You won't.
We're
dying together, baby. What if till death do us part?
All right, now you sound crazy.
Yeah. Another question I have is so Frank and I have talked about him. He's told his story, like he finds out the diagnosis, and that. So that's from his point of view. I understand it. What went on for you? Like, were you in the room when he got told? Did he tell you? Like, walk me through that.
No.
So I was trying to field what I could. So I actually knew what was going on before he did. So I would have these hard conversations, and I would usually say to them, like, look, talk to me, don't talk to him, and I would relay. So when I first had the conversation with a transplant coordinator, it was like, hey, look, this is what it's looking like. And they were telling me they wanted to work him up for a heart transplant or for an LVAD, which is, it's like a crazy machine that basically goes into your heart and keeps it pumping, comes out through your stomach, and you have to plug it in, and this whole craziness. So I actually got that information before him, which was really rough. And I remember you asked, like, who did I rely on? And I remember calling my dad and just throwing it out there. Like, I just had this conversation, and this is what they're talking about. And telling him how, like, there's no way he's getting an LVAD, and he's young and active, you know. And my dad, I remember my dad telling me, like, you do whatever you have to keep him alive, you know. But I just knew that wasn't the right route. And after I had that conversation and did my breaking down, I walked into the room and, you know, basically said, hey, Frank, you know, they're not saying it's going to be a heart transplant, but they're saying that they want to work you up just in case your heart doesn't recover. And they've already done a bunch of tests. And, you know, so I told them, yeah, let them work you up. What are your thoughts? And he agreed, because my initial instinct was, no, don't work him up. If he needs it, we'll deal with it. But for right now, like, he's going to recover. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, that's not how it works. We kind of have to get the ball rolling. Mm-hmm. So, but most of those hard conversations actually came to me first, because I felt like it was a little bit softer having me tell him things than a doctor coming in and telling him things.
Yeah. I used to hate Dr. Hernandez, because he would be like no bedside manner really in the beginning, and now I love him to death. Like, he's like my brother, you know. But he would come in and be like, "You might need a heart transplant," and I'd be like, "Yeah, right, go fuck yourself," and I'd eat my eggs. I'd be like, "Get out of here! I don't need nothing. I don't know what you're talking about." You know what I mean? So it was hard. But listen, I love Dr. Hernandez now.
Oh yeah,
he's the greatest.
Yeah.
But those, sometimes they deliver it away, dude. And I told him that, like, you got to deliver it differently, bro. Like, you have to, they need to understand, like, dude, it's like, sometimes they just blunt with it, you know? And it's like, you're giving someone a major, be a little softer with this, man. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, that's a challenging moment in anyone's life.
Dude, super challenging.
For those of you who might be just tuning in, or even from the start, we didn't really give a background, but we're really having a conversation with Frank and his wife about what happens when your whole world gets turned upside down, and
in a blink of an eye,
and you have to respond, right?
In a blink of an eye, like literally a blink of an eye, brother. Because like, we didn't know. Like, I don't want to take you away from your interview, but we had no idea. Like, we had a cough. We knew it was bad, but we didn't think this was gonna happen.
When he was like going through the coughing phase, and like, was there anything going on for you where you thought it was worse? What was that process like? Was it?
Men are babies in general when they're sick. And so
totally agree with that. So.
Right. And so for Frank, it's like he would if he had a cold, it was the end of the earth. So when he first got sick, I'm being honest.
Can't say that anymore though.
No, totally different story now.
I'm like dying. No one believes me.
Right, because when he but to be fair, Frank, like, when you had a cold, you were dying. When you
here this is different.
But he's asking what was my initial experience.
Go ahead.
My initial experience
you were kind
was,
of like cry wolf.
You have a cough. Okay, you're going to be fine. And we went to all the doctor's appointments, and I tried to kind of read up on what's going on and be proactive. And because I remember he actually had a pulmonologist appointment that was several weeks later, and I kept going online trying to get something sooner, which I ultimately did. And so in the beginning, I was thinking, okay, like, this is fine, whatever. And then when they diagnosed him with pneumonia initially, I was like, okay, this is good. We know what it is. Now we can fix it. And then as things started to get worse, it became apparent that something else was going on. I thought, okay, it turned into this pneumonia to something worse, that pneumonia, not ever thinking he's in heart failure. The first time I really found out he's in heart failure is when I meet him in the hospital up in Temple, and they're telling me they have to intubate him, which was petrifying. So yeah, in the beginning, I didn't realize how serious it was. I don't think any of us did.
No, I did though at the end.
At the end, for sure. But in the beginning, we all thought you had a cough.
Yeah. And I did for a while feel like I was telling everybody. Literally, I've texted people. I told you. I was telling people I feel like I'm dying. But no one freaking believes me. You know? Like, towards the end, I felt like I was dying, bro. Like,
you were.
I know. And I was literally dying.
Yeah.
I had less than a 10% survival rate.
How did you approach the Sonny situation? Like, how did that piece, you know?
Yeah. That piece was tough because it was hard to make him feel safe and know that everything is going to be okay and be honest about what's going on.
Yeah.
And I actually spoke to some counselors in the hospital who deal with children dealing with this type of situation, because I really needed some advice in terms of how do I talk to my son about this, because he's going to overhear conversations. Yeah. He's going to know things.
He's gonna pick up on energy too, and he's
absolutely
right. He's a smart boy, and there was actually a question he asked me, and he said to me, you know, I told him Dad needs a new heart when we figured that piece out, and he said, well, where did they get the heart from? And I didn't know how to answer that question for him. And so at the time, I actually said, I'm going to ask the doctors because I'm not really sure. Yeah. And then I spoke to the counselors, and they said, I think honesty is the best policy. And because the honesty is always going to be better than whatever he conjures up in his head if you don't give him information, which I think is just good advice across the board in terms of parenting. And so I try to tell him things in a kid-appropriate way. And so the messaging he got was, Dad got a gift from somebody else who passed away, and he got that heart, and that allowed him to live. And kids appreciate a straightforward approach, and he was fine with that. There was not a lot of follow-up. It was, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And obviously, we've had more conversations after that because he met the family and that whole thing. But yeah, I mean, I just tried to be honest in the best way I could without making him scared.
Yeah, I like that.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that my reference point for me, when I was little, my grandmother was in the hospital, and I said to my mom, is she going to be okay? And my mom said to me, I don't know. And my grandmother actually passed away shortly thereafter. And I always appreciated that she was honest with me and didn't say to me, everything's going to be fine. Because then if my grandmother passed away, I wouldn't have trusted her going forward. And so in the back of my head, I try to be that way with Sonny. Like, I'm going to tell you that things are fine. And if they're not, I'm going to tell you in a way that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I don't have anything close to that, but I had a rabbit when I was younger, and it was outside in New Hampshire. And in the wintertime, it got super cold and he died. And my parents replaced it but didn't tell me. And then I figured it out because it's not the same rabbit.
Right.
And I just remember the sense of betrayal and like the things that conjured up in my mind were like, why would you lie to me? Why wouldn't you just tell me? Why, you feel tricked. You feel, and that's a whole nother set of issues that need to be worked out. You know what I mean? So, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I just want to know, like, where did your strength come from, babe, when I was going through all that? Like, you never really, like, broke down crying. Like, you were very strong and all that. I was the one that was, like, I know you told me that you would cry, like, when you would leave, but you would never show that to me. Like, where does that come from?
I'm a very put one foot in front of the other type of person. I kind of attack life that way. It's not an option for me to kind of curl up and die. It's just not how I'm built. So I put one foot in front of the other and kept it moving. And in that moment, I knew that what was important was for me to be there for you. So I had my time. I mean, I literally would walk into the waiting room. I would silent scream in the morning. And then I'd pull myself together and I'd walk back in the room and say, like, hey, do you want something to eat? Because that's what I needed to do in that time. It wasn't important for me to be breaking down. It was important for me to show you that we're going to be strong and get through it.
Yeah. I love you for that.
Yeah, that's solid.
Fucking solid, dude. She's so solid, bro.
From the beginning of the process till now, what differences individually and as a family unit and as a couple? There's three parts to that question. Like, you as an individual, you and Frank as a partnership, and then you guys as a family unit. How has the impact of this scenario, can you see the impact of it post? Like, how are you guys different? Are things different?
Yeah.
We are absolutely different. I think as a couple, we have different perspective than most. And Frank and I have been through some stuff. I mean, even before this, right? Like, we went through addiction and like we've gone through real life stuff together. And I think that probably made it easier this time around when it was like, hey, there's nothing you're going to put in front of us that's going to stop us, right? I think that we appreciate things that maybe other people don't because we knew how close we were to not having it anymore. And so, like, somebody posted on, this is just a silly example, like somebody posted on Facebook one day, like, about how annoying her husband breathing was. And in my head, I went to, until you're faced with the fact that you might not have that anymore. Like, I get that it's a joke, but to me, it's not funny.
Yeah.
I think as a couple that Frank is very different after his heart. I mean, we've always had a good, strong marriage and a strong relationship, and we've had our ups and downs because everybody does. But I think that he's much more appreciative of our marriage and definitely a better father. He was always present, but now he's present, if that makes sense. He's at every game and he's coaching and he's talking to Sonny about everything he can possibly teach him under the sun, as if it's like a race to get all that information out, you know, and just spending time that beforehand maybe he wouldn't. You know, it used to be bedtimes I was putting Sonny to sleep and we were having that last conversation about how his day was. And now Frank's in the room for those conversations.
And taking him to school and
just
doing
much
all
more.
those things that it's like I pushed aside that I look at now like, what the fuck was I doing?
Well, it's similar to what she was just saying, which is that it gives you a new perspective.
Yeah.
The situation gives you a new perspective. You're like, oh, breathing, joke, haha, funny, but we have a different experience. It doesn't mean one's right or one's wrong. It's just that you're seeing it. And then it really appears to me that you paid attention. Like, a lot of times things happen to people and for a time it's like they're lit up and they're doing all the things differently, right? And then they just forget about it.
Yeah.
It's like it goes back to the default setting, and it sounds like what I witnessed myself with you is that every day you have this laser guided focus on the perspective that you gain from this experience.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah.
It's true. And I have not felt like things have reverted. I felt like over time things are actually getting a little bit better. You know, like there's times when I put dinner on the table and it's just like, hey, thank you so much for this meal. And it's little, but I appreciate that, you know?
I appreciate you like to the fullest because like I think I'm going to live 30 more years, but like, bro, the average heart's 12 and we're already over 2 years into this thing. So like, that's why I like try to do everything with my family and everything while I'm here and tell them constantly how much I love them. Like that's what we do every night. We do family hugs and we do gratefuls at night. You know, these are all new things that I never did with us. And like every night, it's like, what are we grateful for before we go to bed?
First thing that comes to my mind in hearing you guys talk about that is like, it's similar to recovery. So you have like sober time seems to be the important piece. It's like, okay, so you got 20 years and you're miserable.
It means nothing.
Or you get 10 years and they're filled with what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you might be talking about a potential for a shorter lifespan due to your current condition, which is tragic and sad and scary. But the 10 years that let's just say it is 10 years, like those 10 years are better than anyone.
Well, I act as if it's only gonna be.
Yeah.
In my mind, I don't say that, but I act as if, dude. Yeah. Like, and that's why I'm like fucking. That's why I'm taking him to the Spurs game tonight. And I took him out.
Like you're really living, is what I'm saying. Like,
yes.
So this idea of like the way that you guys are living now, even if it becomes shorter, is like it's actually a blessing.
A blessing, brother.
The current time. So many people are taken for granted every day. So many people are living the silent desperation and. They're cohabitating and they're, you know, like ships passing in the night.
Yeah, you see that all the time with couples and with her and I. Like the middle of the night, sometimes I'm like, I'm here with her in the bed and Sonny's in the room and we're healthy. And that's all that fucking matters, dude. Yeah. Like nothing else matters is that we're in the bed. Like because I couldn't hug her. For 6 weeks, you did like a penguin on my shoulder. And then I couldn't really hug you after the thing because I had that freaking thing on my arm. Yeah. Like it was like I couldn't fully hug you for like 3 months.
Well, and you're also really face to face with very real potential that you can't do anything because you're not going to have it.
Right.
Dude, death or what would my life look like? All that. And that's why that letter was so powerful, man. Like, because I didn't know. They're telling me I need people to help me, bro. I'm fucking 43 years old. I've been working out my whole life. I need people to help me in my life at 43. That's why I was like, I don't listen to that shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whatever the fuck they tell me, I don't fully listen, bro. Yeah. You know what I mean? I listen to them with the meds that I need to take, but I got off all the meds because I did my stuff. You know what I mean? And she's the biggest freaking support in all of it, man. Like, I am not who I am. I'm not alive. I'm not here today. Without you. I mean, that's just the reality.
Well, you had all that support in the hospital and the critical time, and then post, it's been the healthy meals and the You know,
I mean, our whole lifestyle changed. Like even our lifestyle, like the DoorDash is gone. Like once in a blue, you do something, but we're cooking our meals. We're eating. She works out with me every weekend. We do grounding together. We do meditation as a family. These are things we never did. You know, family workouts every weekend. Me, Sonny, and her. Non-negotiable. These are like great things that we do. We pray, you know, the gratitude at night, you know, and then we experience life to the fullest because we don't know. So like every day is truly a blessing, you know. That's why we broke Sonny out of school today. We pulled him out. Yeah.
One thing you said too about like how has it changed me, and you were talking about the parallels between addiction and what we're going through now. And I was actually talking to a friend yesterday whose husband had a heart transplant, and she and I try to kind of be support for each other because nobody understands what this is like. Yeah. It's like when you walk into a room with other addicts and you can talk about things that a person who's not an addict is not going to have any idea what they're talking about. And I had that same experience in Al-Anon too, like stuff that I would talk about with women and they'd be like, oh yeah, like, you know, I was on the hood of the car, and other women would be like, what the heck, you know? But for me now, I struggle with, like in addiction, the family often struggles with control. How can I fix it? How can I make him stop using? How, you know, and that whole piece of it. And I find now that pops up for me again, not around drugs, obviously, but around his health and wanting to make sure like he's okay, and or the doctor's visits and the meds and all of that piece. And I have to pause sometimes and actually give it up to God and know that I'm not in control of any of it, and I can do what I can do, and I can help you be healthy and call the doctor and make sure you have appointments. But at the end of the day, like I can't go down that rabbit hole, and because I know like at the end of the day it really has nothing to do with me.
It doesn't. It's all in God's hands. We read it the other day with the Daily Stoic. Everything's right. The Eisenhower, prior to the invasion of Normandy, wrote a letter, and it was just about like if they were to get defeated. And then he wrote the other letter, and it was just like, this is all in God's hands. Yeah. Like everything's prepared for us to do what we have to do, but the true lies in God's hands. And Dr. Reddy told me the same exact thing. I said, dude, are you going to save my life? And he says, it's in God's hands. The doctor. The doctors were telling me that.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Which was refreshing, to be honest.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Because most doctors are...
No, they weren't lying.
You know, have like some form of ego or...
And it actually strengthened my faith even stronger. Because I have a doctor here being like, dude, it's not on me, it's on God. For your life. I'm going to do my best, but he's working through me.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, God, you're everything. I surrender. Steve Wisniewski came in the hospital bed. Offensive lineman for the Raiders. I love him to death. I talked to him last night. The Raiders lost. He would come in and he says, God loves you so much. He loves you more than you could ever love your family or your wife or your son. So if God wants you, Frank, then God's going to take you. And like as fucking crazy as that is, there's a lot of peace in that, dude.
Yeah.
When you could really come to that true surrender, there's so much peace in it.
It seems to me there would be this
crazy.
This point at which like the tension, right? It's like the initial shock, all of the trauma, for lack of a better word. Is there a moment that you think back on where that shifted, where it was like, I'm really curious about like the ability to just breathe. Like you're talking about the breath, right? With the joke and the meme, but I'm literally thinking like you get hit with this news as a family, and then it's go time and it's tension, and like you can't really relax because you just don't know. So is there a moment that shows up where you're like, oh, whew.
I don't think there's a moment. I think that over time you start to settle into the new normal and you realize that the new normal is more normal than you expected.
Yeah.
When you get a heart, they come in and they literally give you a binder of do this, don't do that, make sure you know, crazy stuff, right? And then you start to live and you realize like, okay, I can have a salad.
At a restaurant.
Which sounds so silly, but like in the beginning, they're like, you can never eat a salad out again.
Ever.
And you know, and it's like, okay, well.
No fountain drinks, no No
right. Like we would
water,
go to the
no-
movies for the first time and I would have
Bring
bottled
water.
water and, you know, things that over time you're still aware of. And I'm not going to say like, go have a McDonald's salad. But if we're at like a nice high-end restaurant and he wants a wedge, I'm like, go for it. I, you know, trust that the lettuce is washed. So over time, it's like this new normal where you just navigate a little bit differently and you're not so hyper aware of every little thing.
And living in fear and...
No, and I did at first, dude. Like the first time I went to Las Vegas because Steve actually got me tickets to the Raiders. It was my first ever Raider game, and the Raiders got me the tickets. It was like beautiful, and I got sick. I got sick on coming home on the airplane, and I had so much. Like the first time I was in public, dude, I had so much fear, like of getting sick, because I was like, I didn't know what was gonna happen. They were telling me that sometimes you could wind up in the hospital from being sick. Again, you know, you especially early the first 2 years, you get high rejection, and so I would have massive fear, dude. I would wear a mask. I still got sick with the mask on, but I had a lot of fear just being in public.
Right.
You know,
the first few sicknesses, we all got the flu. Like things come up, and
it destroyed me.
Right, things that you or I would be, you know, and get over quick. Sometimes knock him out. You know,
he was back to his old self. When he'd get a cold.
Dude, I couldn't even get out of bed.
Better now.
I'm way better now, dude. Because after you've like gone through what I have with this getting cut open all over, and I'm like a lot better. I'm like I can deal with stuff a lot better. I deal with stuff a lot better.
And we've also had the conversation where rejection of an organ is not what people think. Like usually it's not like, oh my gosh, we need to rush you in and you need a new heart. It's like, hey, we need to adjust your meds and get you back on track. But the signs of it are so, what's the word? Like they're not glaring. They're not
subtle.
Right. Subtle is the word. So it's like if you're more tired than usual or whatever. And like I've had the conversation with Frank after all of this, whereas before it would be like he had a cold and he was dying. Now I'm like, look, if you're really dying, you have to let me know. But if you're not, you have to let me know that too. So I think that he's more aware of that because sometimes he'll be like, I'm so tired. And, you know, he might have a few days where he's tired. And I'll be like, are you tired because you're doing a lot? Or are you tired like something's wrong? We need to call the doctor, you know? Yeah. So I think he's more aware of it too, which makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah. Is there a timeline on the rejection thing where the coast is clear? Or
well, I mean, after the first 2 years, they give you like the first year, like rejection's like 60% or something. It's a very high number that it could get rejected. After the second year, it's like the coast is usually clear, you know, but I don't know, you know, they don't know, like things could happen, but yeah, usually past the second year now, things are, and my body feels like so in sync. Like everything about how it functions, it feels better than it has, like, dude, probably ever, you know?
I think it can happen at any time, but if you stay on top of your health and get the routine monitoring they tell you to, if it does pop up, they'll deal with it. The problem comes into play when you don't deal with it until it's so
too
far
late
gone that now you might need an organ.
And most people aren't taking care of their health, brother. They're not eating like I do. They're not training like I do. They're not meditating. They're not doing the visualization. They're not doing the journaling, the frequency to keep yourself where you need to be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So they're you know, they have a higher risk than I believe I do. But anything's possible. But I truly feel everything that I do, I'm gonna be with her. I think Kaylee will be with me until I die. I'll die from something else. I don't think the heart's gonna be the reason I die.
That's badass.
You know.
You talked about the one question Sonny asked about where he's getting the heart from. Mm-hmm. Since then, as the recovery process has moved along, has there been other questions? Like, has he saw things happening and go, hey, what about this? Or has anything popped up?
Somewhat. Sonny is a very introspective kid. And usually if I bring something up, he'll talk about it and have a bunch of questions, but he's not necessarily the one to bring things up. And so I will, if there's things going on in the world that I think we need to talk about because I know he's hearing and getting messaging and I want to see what he's internalizing, we'll talk about it. He's just been exposed to so much. And so I do worry what questions he has. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But when stuff pops up, we usually will just sit down and talk about it.
I was walking out there to go grab something. He's like, Jason, I'm going to have a faux event on Thanksgiving.
Oh goodness, we have.
I said, dude, I want him to start a regular business now. Like, he's all about it, dude. Like, he's about doing business, and he did a whole presentation today.
He did a presentation.
He had slides and everything.
He put on a blazer.
Revenue, that's projections.
He did. He had like a graph with how much the revenue is and what they expect for the following month and what they did last month, and he taped it. And he used a screwdriver as a pointer. I was so impressed because he literally put together a whole PowerPoint presentation that he drew with pen on paper.
It's badass, yeah. You didn't get that from Frank.
He did not.
That's
get
his
that
lawyer
from
mom.
Frank. Right. We both were sitting there in blazers, while he did his little presentation.
That's awesome.
He's the best. He truly is.
So you guys have a unique perspective given the intensity of what you experienced, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone on an individual level, because you went through what you had to go through physically and the challenges in the hospital, you were the supporting role. They each had their own challenges, right? So you both have like individual struggles and the experience of getting through that in an extreme way and like having this amazing mindset. So for any individuals out there or people in relationships that may be experiencing anything that's causing problems or conflict, what I'm interested to hear from both of you. What suggestions do you have for people in that scenario?
Go ahead.
Do you want me to go first?
Go ahead, yeah.
I think you have to just have the mindset that there's nothing you're not going to get through, right? Mm-hmm. And there's nothing you're going through that somebody hasn't gone through already. And if you lean on people who've been in the same situation or maybe not been in the same situation, but will just listen to what you're going through and not even offer advice, but just kind of be a sounding board and, say, hey, I hear you're going through it and it's going to be fine. And just lean into each other. I mean, Frank and I, we've been through so much. And I mean, we have our differences and there's times where we don't agree on things. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we know that if we stick together, that's the important part. And I think that people nowadays are so quick to give up. And they give up for like silly reasons, right? And for me, it's like, I married you. I told you I'm going to stick by you. And that's what's going to happen. And it's just not negotiable for me. Frank's always talking about not negotiables. And I have them too, Yeah. But I think that if you just attack life as, hey, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through it with you. And we're going to come out better on the other side. It just works a lot better than quitting, because if you quit and walk away, you're still going to have all your same problems. And now they're just going to be amplified. Mm-hmm. Now you're dealing with this whole new set of problems. That's what I do on a regular basis. Right. But if you sit down, and so Frank and I haven't always communicated the best throughout times, and especially in addiction. And, there's no rational communication. But I feel like we've gotten way better now where we'll have a disagreement, but we'll sit down and be like, hey, this is what I'm trying to say. And always work it out and change based on the feedback. Mm-hmm. Own what's mine, mm-hmm. you own what's yours, mm-hmm. and keep it moving, mm-hmm. And I just think that people should realize, like, you can get through anything. And for me, it's just non-negotiable. Like, our relationship, how I'm going to show up for you, and vice versa. Like, it's mm-hmm. that's it. Like, I don't want to do life without her and Sonny, personally. Like, I'll be honest. Well, you've talked a lot about how you literally came back for that. Yes, 100%. I also feel like, from an outsider's perspective, you both have your own capacity and experience doing your own work. So I think for people in relationships, that's a big one. That's huge, dude. So many people aren't doing their own work. And then there's this, I just did a story work group yesterday with a small group of people at the center. And, it's a couple of them were really struggling. And I'm saying this because these are people who have decided, I'm going to do the work on myself, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to congratulate there. But they've been trapped inside a 10-year-old experience. When they were 10, they got wounded, mm-hmm. and they weren't able to heal it. And they've been living this thing that the little 10-year-olds have been driving the bus for, mm-hmm. The last 18 years. Of course, it was almost, in their 30s or something. So being able to highlight for them that story, do some processing and working on it, and then
those type of people seem to be able to be in better relationships with others because now their relationship with self is better.
Absolutely.
They're not so dependent on. I mean, if you think about it, like if you're an adult who's done some work on yourself versus a 10-year-old, who's going to show up better? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's going to be hard for that 10-year-old to do that. But a lot of people are walking around
as that 10-year-old
in their 30s with a 10-year-old mentality that you know.
So the thing that helped us the most was obviously me doing my work, the recovery and the personal development, and she's done her work too, and Al-Anon, and she was heavily involved in Al-Anon back in New York, and she's always been of service too. Kathy's all about helping people and growth mindset as well, So I think that has been definitely, you can't have one that's on a path and then the other one isn't. It has to be together.
You can for a little bit. It's just not going to.
For a little bit, but it's not going to be sustainable. You know what I mean? And that's what's helped us is that we actually did both do our work and then also come together. And when we have the disagreements, like she said, we come and I listen as much as my ego doesn't want to. I'll listen and I'll make adjustments on what it is that she needs from me and vice versa. And that's how you run a perfect home, man. That's how we all come as one, you know?
I think that's a common misconception too with addiction is that, well, once the addict stops doing drugs, everything's fine, right? Like our marriage will be better and family relationships will be better. And that's not true. No. I mean, you can take the drugs out of it, but all those feelings around what happened don't go away.
They cause their own problems.
Yeah. Right. And the distrust and the worrying and all of that stuff, and really repairing the damage and being able to say, I'm strong on my own. You're doing what you need to do, and I need to do what I need to do. Yeah. Because I feel like people who are in relationships with people who are in active addiction become just as crazy. You're just, it's like they use the same steps, right? Because I am powerless over drugs and alcohol. It's just not my own problem. Yeah. I'm powerless over his, right? And it's kind of crazy because people do think like, oh, well, he stops, and so everything's going to be fine.
When it's easy when the other person has such a glaring defect around what they're doing to their life with drugs and alcohol to think they're the sick one, and you're just helpful. It's a really it's very subtle and it's sneaky in the sense of, oh, I'm helping you, and so therefore I can't be sick, right? And it's
oh, dude, and to get her trust back, it took literally years, like 3 years. Like she didn't change her name to my name for 3 years of marriage. I used to run program at another treatment center and do family work, and I would tell the families, like, if Jimmy's looking for like some money, just know that I run this program that you're here with, and I don't have access to my savings account.
For good reason.
And I'm making money, you know what I mean? But like, that's what it took, dude, because that's what it takes sometimes in order to gain the trust back so that you can have a good relationship. And people need to hear that, People need to hear that. They need to hear
often
that.
I get the privilege of talking to a lot of people, and it's interesting, and sometimes it's surprising, but not really. It's a very unique scenario. People who are suffering from addiction, and that meaning unique in that the approach and how the right moves, and there's a lot of information out there. Some is good, some not so good, but really this idea of what decisions to make. And all too often families are attempting to keep people what they think is safe and happy. And if I just do that and these things are taken care of, like I pay the apartment and I pay the car payment, and it's like, well, no, but you're actually subsidizing their addiction.
Yes.
So like you're giving them an opportunity to use because they don't have these other responsibilities, so you're, but it doesn't seem like that at first for the families. It's like, it's almost new to them to be like, wait, what? And I've used that term a lot. I'm like, yeah, you're actually subsidizing their addiction.
Absolutely.
And families go, oh.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a mom about that, and we talked to Sonny about a lot of stuff, and there was like a Christmas, like right before I got sober, like that July, where she left me, she should have, and I was alone on Christmas, and it was like a snowstorm, bro, and I had no way to like get out and get drugs, so I'm like kicking in a snowstorm alone.
Sounds terrible.
Terrible. I made hot dogs for Christmas. And Sonny was like, I feel bad that happened. I said, you shouldn't, because that's actually why I'm the man I am today for you, bud, because it's stuff like that, dude. Like, that's what it takes, man. Like, don't feel bad, I'm the dad I am because mom was the mom she was.
That's awesome.
To be the dad that I am.
I don't know where July came from.
I got sober in July.
Oh, right. After.
But in December, you left me that Christmas.
Yes, I did.
You left in Christmas.
I remember the conversation.
A snowstorm.
I thought you meant I left in July and it was that Christmas. I remember the conversation and I said, like, you can get high, but then you can't come to Christmas.
Yeah.
And he called my dad and he said, Kathy won't let me come to Christmas.
He didn't either.
And my dad said, Frank, you know, you're always welcome at my house, but you cannot do drugs and be around my grandkids. Like, it's not okay.
Yeah.
And you start to see the shift when it's like, you can choose this life, but then you're not choosing other things.
Yeah, dude. And you need that.
Right.
You
and
know?
that's, again, working on yourself.
Healthy boundaries.
Right. You know, I think that when you're in a sick relationship with addiction, you're so crazy that the person who's using just hates you so much because they think you're crazy and you're trying to control them, which you are, right? But if you stop that crazy and just leave them to look at themselves, they have to start looking at it.
Absolutely.
And I remember in Al-Anon, like, one of my favorite things I read was about a woman talking about how her husband passed out on the lawn and she left him there. And in the morning, he came in the house and she was like, hey, do you want coffee? You want eggs? And
you've literally done that to me.
As if nothing happened, because it forced him to look at, I just slept on the lawn, as opposed to his wife, what's wrong with you? And screaming and yelling and creating a scene. And so I still feel like I implement that in daily life. Like, if he's upset about something, and I'll just keep quiet until he comes around. Absolutely, and it will be like, if I'm not screaming and yelling about how he's wrong, he looks at it and probably will internalize at some point, like, oh yeah, maybe I'm wrong, you know? So I think that that's kind of helpful advice too.
Oh, absolutely. It's really, once you start that deep inner work and you are boundaried yourself, it's like oftentimes I'm able to see in a scenario, like, that's not for me to get involved in, like in my own partnership, right? It's like, and we have an amazing thing going and we both own our stuff and, you know, we fall short sometimes, but we'll correct it. Yeah. But oftentimes I'm able to be in connection, communication, relationship with either my partner or friends in general and be like, that's not for me to get involved with. That's your stuff, clearly. And I don't even need to tell them that. I can just step back quietly and you don't take I call it taking the bait. Yeah. You don't take the bait. You don't get hooked. You just, hey, I'm going to let you do your thing. And then sometimes if people are stepping or intruding on the boundary, it's like you then have to remind them, hey, this isn't I don't tolerate this. Like, I'm not going to have this in my life. And if you want to be that way, all the power to you. I'm not going to be around it. Yeah. So that's awesome.
No. You got any more questions for?
I'm waiting for you to ask yours.
Well, I don't know, man. I'm like, I really wanted to hear like how you got that strength. How did you? Here's something I want. How did you deal with me? While I would like, what was your like? Because I was crazy for a long time, like fucking crazy. How did you hold it all together? Like, she was working on Wall Street as an attorney, and I'm like getting arrested, bro. You know what I mean? A lot. And like crazy shit, like fights and streets, like all this insanity. Like, how did you, during that time, keep yourself together?
I don't know if there's a good answer to that. And a lot of times people will say things to me like, you're so strong. And my narrative is not that. My narrative is like, no, I was weak and young and stupid because I was in like a really bad situation that I let perpetuate forever. But again, I just one foot in front of the other, and I'm going to deal with all this chaos, and I'm going to show up to work, and I'm going to do my job. And I didn't always do it particularly well because I was dealing with all this other stuff. But it's just kind of who I was. And I'm loyal to a fault. I think I love my family more than anything. Anyone that knows me knows that that's it for me. It's like my husband and my son are everything. And I, just like in the scenario with the hospital and everything we went through, with addiction, I felt the same way. Like, I never wanted him to feel alone. I didn't want him to die alone, thinking I didn't love him enough, or, you know, and I stuck it out for that. And I'm grateful I did. And I'm grateful that we both put in the work to get to where we are today, because we have a beautiful life and we have a beautiful family. And, you know, I'm grateful for every minute of it. But I don't really have a good answer for.
Well, I think you actually spoke to it. I mean, I think there's a lot of truth in that. Meaning, if you look at the progression of your process, there was a time where you left him because you were getting well, right? Like you had to leave. You're not allowed to come to Christmas, and you spent it alone. Like, so I think there is a bit of illness that allowed you to stay in the codependent realm, and you getting into the space of the Al-Anon program and you guys entering into recovery allowed you to heal those wounds and like not be in that position. So I think you answered it really well, actually.
What did you see in me?
I mean, I think you have one of the biggest hearts of anyone I've ever met. And you have this like rough exterior. Like everyone's always like, Frank's loud or, abrasive or, whatever they say. But at the end of the day, it's like you have a huge heart and you're funny and you're caring. And, I know that you would do anything for your family. And the same thing I loved about you then is what I love about you now,
Thank you. I love her. Look at that face. She wore her hair like that in the hospital every day. So I said, you got to wear it that today. Yeah, the samurai warrior. Yeah.
Well, we're drawing near the close of the conversation. It's been really interesting for me, and I appreciate you entertaining my curiosity. I'm very close to both of you, and hadn't really had those questions. We hadn't been able to have that type of dialogue before, or we haven't had it. But in closing, what are some things that you have? Do you have some things that you're checking off? Like you have this perspective, right? Like you go through this intense experience, and you have a new look on life, and you're taking every breath not for granted. You're like, so have you guys have you made plans for anything in particular since the?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I've been doing it, dude. Like as far as like travel goes, like I wanted to take him to all these sports things, which I like knocked off. And like we want to go to Europe now. Like next year, we're going to go to Italy for the first time. I want to travel and see the world, dude. Grow awesome. Emotion, just focus on what we're doing. Like this is a giant part of my life, what we're doing, dude, and just really, it's just like fucking making this national and the best out there and growing this podcast and just living like our life, man. Travel. Like that's the main thing. Like I want to see the world, dude, before I die.
The reason I ask that question is this is where it comes from. I think a lot of people are like, someday.
No, we're doing it.
As if like someday.
No, we're doing it. We've been doing it, dude. Okay, like cool. Travel, like all that you see. Yeah. I traveled a lot, and now I want to see Europe. I want to see the world. So every year I want to we're going to hit a country, But I've taken him to like the NBA Finals and the World Series. Like even when I didn't really have the money to do it, but I was like, dude, it's like the Yankees are in the World Series. I'm going to take them, and I took my mom and my wife. It was like a night that I remember for the rest of my life, even though they lost. It wasn't about the Yankees. It was about the family.
Yeah.
So having those memories with him and doing all that, because he loves sports, and exposing him to all this stuff, right? Like even though whatever, the Aspire thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like exposing him to that stuff, him sitting down with us when we negotiated me coming in at Emotion and being part of a freaking actual business deal, like exposing Sonny to everything in my life, my whole family. It's another reason why I love Emotion. I get to expose my family to this life too. You know what I mean? And all of my life, which I never would have done in the past. So I'm so grateful for that. And travel is the main thing, dude. I really want to see the world. I haven't. I've only seen America and Mexico and like, where'd we go? Bahamas or something. But I want to see like other cultures outside of a beach,
Right.
Yeah.
We do a lot of like, hey, we're going to road trip this weekend. And
we're doing a lot of that stuff
we'll go
too.
to like a hotel that's an hour away and just do some fun stuff.
Just for like a night,
Cool, yeah.
Like tomorrow we're going to Fredericksburg. I get honored for and I'm going to miss the step up, but I get honored for the heart tomorrow. So I don't know if we're going to stay tomorrow night, but our anniversary is next week. So we'll get like a little cabin somewhere or something. Just do it.
I love it. Yeah.
Just do it. Do it all. Everyone out there, do it all, because time, you think you have time, but you don't.
Well, that's like, I took
don't.
that approach with my truck and the tent and just want to explore.
And you drove and you went to Oregon and all over, and you're shooting and you're doing all the shit you want to do, because that's what we're supposed to do, bro.
Yeah.
I think the whole retirement idea that was ingrained like when we were kids, like with our parents and whatever, is shifting, right? Because you see, if you wait till you're 65,
you can't even. I'm in the this is the best I'm gonna be right now.
Like, what's stopping you from getting in your truck and, you know, driving for 2 weeks and exploring the United States? I mean, why not do it now?
Yeah, we have to.
I love that.
I always say, have fun, dude. We gotta have fun. We're gonna do business, but we also gotta have fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
No, it was.
I love you so much.
Yeah, I love both you guys.
I love you, dude.
Oh,
we love you so much. We do.
Really great, really great conversation.
You're our family.
And then James over there is first time.
James, you got in on the family action here, dude. You're in the circle, dog.
Big shout out to James.
And James is, look at he's doing all that. He's doing everything with us. And he's Italian. Who don't love Italians? Let's go.
Nice. Thank you, sir. Thank you, man.
Thank you for connecting with us on today's episode of the Emotion Podcast, where we discuss all things mental health. Connect every week as we explore incredibly intimate stories of persistence and hope, delve into mental health education, and explore valuable resources. Available on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And visit emotionwellness.com for more information.